You're listening to JW Raw with Eminem.
We are live.
Why, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or wherever you're watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in for a special edition of JW Raw. My co-host,
Misha.
We have on the show with us a couple, the sheriff and undersheriff of Cibola County, New Mexico. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And just so everybody knows, this is not some kind of endorsement for them running for sheriff. They're actually running unopposed, so they're already re-elected practically. So you've already done a good enough job for a few years out there, and they trusted you enough to put you back in again with no one even wanted to run against you. That's how badass you guys are.
Yeah, the community thinks that we're doing a pretty good job. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Cibola County is you're west of Albuquerque. What's the give us the stats of your area that you guys cover?
So Cibola County is about 86 miles west of Albuquerque. Our county line actually starts about the 131 mile marker, which is about 6 miles past the Route 66 casino. We go all the way to the Arizona state line. We have a population of about 24 to 25,000. It fluctuates about a 2,400 square mile range, mostly rural ranch land. Rural part of New Mexico. We're surrounded by the Mount Taylor Zuni Mountain Ranger District. So Cibola County has 4 national parks, included a couple game reserves and different things. So it's really a unique part of New Mexico.
This is right on 66, Route 66.
Right on Route 66, right in the middle of I-40.
So
is it on the way to Vegas or not?
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, we pass through it every time. Yeah.
So when I'm driving through, something happens. Tony.
Every time we drive west, I'm like, okay, there's Cibola County. I might know somebody in this
safe
county.
Zone. Yeah, stop on by.
Yeah, once you hit the 66 casino and you start west, you're
that's
good
what's
to the Arizona
right.
state line.
Yeah, we go that direction a lot.
Yeah, we do.
And a lot of our people and fighters go through because Vegas, this is
Right, a lot of stuff going on in
well,
Vegas.
Vegas nonstop all the time.
Pick us up on the way through.
That's right. Let's go.
Yeah,
Road trip.
Yeah, next time we go, man.
That's right.
Police escort.
Radar detectors.
I was in
Instead
with my unit one time down in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I have a Dodge pickup.
Yeah, your unit is not your typical unit. It's
and one of the Las Vegas police department officers pulled me over, the Metro officers, and like, is that a unit? And I'm like, yeah, it says sheriff down the side. They thought it was like a movie prop or something.
Oh, that's funny.
Now,
Yeah.
since it takes us usually 10 hours to get there, it'll be like 6.
Yeah, exactly. Especially in his truck, man. That thing's a beast. But so you guys you're not in the media a whole lot. Not that there's nothing going on, but it's because Albuquerque media doesn't cover a lot of the small towns. We're very selfish here in Albuquerque about giving coverage to anyone other than Albuquerque. But right now, I know there's some major stuff going on out there with even the forest fires. There's some major, is it brush fires or forest fires or what the heck's going on?
That's correct. Initially, we have the up in the Zuni Mountain Ranger District. We have what they call the it's been the Forest Restoration Project. They've been planning it for like 10 years. And what it is to come up and clean up slash and different things like that from the logging industry that came through. So they've been planning this burn for 10 years because the forest burning is ancient. That's the natural process to get rid of waste, insects, bugs, crazy grass, different things like that. So they've been planning this restoration project for like 10 years, and there's only a certain window that the Forest Service has to actually do that. So they forecasted it. They got everything good to go. Everything was working. The high winds started coming in. They shut it down. New Mexico's in a real drought right now. I think it's the third driest in record history.
Yeah, it's bad.
I heard that.
Yeah,
I went to doctor actually. He told me to because I have like problem with my nose.
Everyone's got allergies
yeah,
more
the
than
allergies
usual.
are coming up.
Very
and
dry.
so what happened is they stopped the actual controlled burn and it was done. And then we had 3 man-made fires. One which was arson, roughly 60 miles. I mean, just this huge stretch, one on each end of the county. So the Forest Service had to take those assets that they had on the controlled burn and move them to knock out these other fires so they didn't spark up.
Yeah.
When they did, the high winds
Picked
lit
up.
up the controlled burn. But it's really not bad because what burnt was actually scheduled to burn.
Ah.
So the 3 fires that were the two that were man-made and the one that was arson, they were able to knock those down right away and keep them within a couple hundred acres, which was amazing with the resources that they had. Now, pretty much the actual designated burn area is pretty much done. This morning they were at 68% containment, which is astonishing with the high wind, 60-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, it's been crazy
It
wind.
was
Yeah.
so windy last night, man.
West is always windier too.
Oh yeah, they I think they were blowing roofs off of houses and signs over. So for those firefighters to be able to contain that
they're
fire,
badasses.
they're awesome.
Yeah,
What a
props
jo-
goes out to those
What a
guys.
job they have, that's for sure, man. Every
Yeah.
time you watch like a movie about, obviously, police we know, but like firemen, man, they're in danger, nonstop.
Well, I was talking about that with Undersheriff Munk, that it's not just the firemen doing all that work. You know, you don't think about actually the officers are the ones having to block off the roads to get the firemen a safe buffer zone. You don't get all the looky-loos driving into the fire and causing chaos. And
Yeah, and we had our town hall meeting last night with the what we call Blue Water Acres, which is the southern part of the county, western part of the county, and so there wasn't a pre-evacuation plan for those individuals, and they were kind of worried about, well, we're going to leave all of our stuff. What's going to happen? Well, that's where my undersheriff comes in and says, hey, we're basically going to encompass this village with our patrol officers, so as you guys are leaving, the criminal element can't come in.
yeah, that makes sense, because they do that. Predators. They say, oh, there's a fire. Everyone's going to evacuate, so that's our time to go in and
Makes
take
sense.
advantage.
Sometimes that's why they start arson, right? Probably
Correct.
Create that chaos,
Yeah.
right? So they find
Exactly.
the way in, right?
Exactly.
So undersheriff, that's pretty much right hand, right? For the
Yes.
sheriff? Is that what it is?
yeah.
Wow.
He gets to pick. So the sheriff, when he gets elected, he gets to pick his the
It's
most
like,
qualified.
It's like I am for Wink.
There you go. You're the undersheriff of Jackson Wake.
He has the
Under boss, under something. Yeah.
Under something.
he has the sheriff. Once I take office, once I'm elected and get sworn in, I pick anybody that I want to be my undersheriff. Some agencies call him chief deputy. And me and Mike go way back academy days, and
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool because
Loyalty.
yeah,
you were both in the Marine Corps,
Correct.
and you went to the police academy together many years ago and met, and so it was just perfect.
Were you in Marine Corps together too? Is it
No.
just in police? Started,
Mike's got me by about 10 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm the old guy.
Catches up to us all, right?
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, we make a pretty good team. I'm
That's awesome.
he's my right hand man. Slows me down, keeps me out of trouble. When I'm away, he actually assumes the responsibility and the role as the sheriff.
Yeah.
So it's important that when it comes to operations at the sheriff's office, we're literally the decisions that he makes has to be the decisions that I would make, or the way that I would go, and that's the key point about our relationship, is that if I'm away, he's going to do the exact same thing that I would do, and having the right people in the right places, from undersheriff
Always.
right down to the administration level, it makes it so much easier for stuff that I do, because I'm involved with a lot of organizations.
Well, that's obviously why you want to pick an undersheriff that
Someone you can trust.
Yeah,
obviously.
exactly. Because
Somebody-
if that was also an electable position, you could get somebody in there that's totally opposite, and you're setting yourself up for disaster by
Yeah.
yeah, if
you're
you're
just
not
butting
compatible,
heads
you're
all
not
the time.
compatible. Yeah, it's like.
So it makes sense. It makes total sense that the sheriff gets to pick his people to make sure his orders are being followed. So yeah, totally.
And you guys used to be partners back
Yeah,
in the day. I want to
yeah.
hear that story. Someone like how
Oh, jeez.
like
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few people that know Mark Aragon from a previous life.
Yeah.
Mark and I were partners for years, and we worked a very high crime area, a lot of drugs, a lot
here in
of
Albuquerque,
yeah,
right?
yeah, a lot of
Just north, yeah, just-
lot of crime, a lot of drugs, a lot of gang activity,
I can't imagine.
and
Albuquerque.
and the thing about it is that back, and even today, but I mean, back in the day, I mean, you really counted on your partner,
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, policing.
And you rode together. You pretty much.
Oh yeah.
You
Well, we
met-
had the way that the New Mexico works is we're not like New York
yeah.
or L.A. where you're assigned a partner for life, pretty much.
Yeah.
Here, the concept in New Mexico is everyone's by themselves, and it's kind of a dual purpose. It makes it look like there's more cops out on the street, but it's also most of the calls can be handled with a
Yeah,
single
because when the
officer
call
anyway.
comes in, you're all like.
We all roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. I always ask him, like, what's your, like, worst horror story? He told me some shit. I was going to ask you that, too. I don't know if you can disclose that or not. Like, I don't know what type of, like, how you operate in certain levels.
I think the statute of limitations is has an up on some of it.
Because I would love to hear some of that stuff.
We'd love to invite you to come and hang out with us and do a ride along.
I rode with him before he retired.
What happens in a city is way different than what happens out in a rural county type deal.
And that brings up
That's
a
what
point.
I always like, because like when you're outside in the open like this, like where you have, it's probably also like very hard to track anyone down, right?
Yeah, and then like our officers respond to calls. Like for instance, in a major city area, you're gonna have officers that respond to calls that are happening right now, and they're able to interject and stop those calls. For instance, like a domestic violence call, they're gonna get there when the fight's going on. My guys are going to get there when the fight's over.
Yeah, they've already kissed and made up.
Yeah, and the guy and the suspect is already contemplating. Well, now I'm in trouble. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
They start barricading themselves. They start arming themselves. They're pumped up, ready for fights. It's different.
A lot more hostage type situations and stuff. Whereas we can get there soon enough where the guy's he's still shook up but yeah, once they've been stewing on it for a little while, it gets extra dangerous.
Our close relatively to I-40 as well is we get a lot of stuff off the interstate, a lot of people off the interstate, a lot of different criminal elements, different things like that, because it's kind of rural. They think, well, we're going to go in there, and right under the wire. Well, we're a pretty proactive law enforcement agency, and we keep up on that stuff. I mean, just yesterday we were involved.
Yeah, you guys had just had a crazy call yesterday.
Yeah, we were involved with the pursuit. Initially, there was a bolo that was put out for a child that was abducted in Tennessee. The vehicle came down I-40 and was by phone ping, was pinged right in Grants, right in the middle of Grants, and we approached the vehicle. The local PD approached the vehicle and tried to spike it. It wouldn't stop. Took off down heading west, down Old 66, and the chase is on, and we can see the kids in the car, and I mean, we want to get those kids out and make sure they're safe.
Oh, so it was more than one kid. There was a couple.
Yeah, there was a couple kids in the car, and then the driver of the vehicle literally refuses to stop, and ultimately takes out one of my units, hits him in the front, smashes it
with kids in the car.
With kids in the car, and then as we're approaching to get hands on with him, he uses one of the children as a shield to get away from law enforcement. Cowards. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. It's a true Wild West out there.
Yeah. Damn, instant guillotine, man. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, stories like that really frustrate you because it's going
we have
on.
Kids, if everyone has kids.
Yeah.
Man, it's like,
yeah, so our deputies really have to be able to hold their own, I mean, because backup isn't, for instance, in a bigger city, you're gonna have backup a couple seconds, a minute away.
That's the big difference.
That's why, that's why, there's so many, both sides to every story.
Yes.
That's why, we talk about social media all the time, how evil it is to a certain aspect of, the jobs that you do and things like that. Because you see so much hate and so much things, but people don't see, what you have to deal with and the type of positions you are put in to act on. And they'll show you whatever that minute clip, a 30 seconds clip, or whatever happened,
of the bad stuff.
Whatever the bad stuff. But then what led up to it, a lot of people don't know. And, that's why I always talk to them. I always look at it subjectively, okay, well, yeah, it doesn't look bad.
Unless Rama's here.
You start hey, we had some real incident. And you kind of oh, cops, but then you talk to somebody and you hear their stories and you hear the things that you were put into. And you're like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't react that way.
Well,
I think there should be more outreach of police and kind of telling stories like this, to be honest, so people understand what you have to deal with and how many crazies out there, man, that are just mind-boggling.
And I think
we get put in some bad positions sometimes, and
you humans too. You humans, you have to react on the spot in the most dangerous, in the most dangerous positions ever. You can be killed in any given day.
We get seconds to make a decision that somebody gets minutes and 15 minutes to make.
To digest it, be online, because we deal with a lot of keyboard warriors
after fights. Yeah,
and that's our sworn enemy.
People.
The keyboard warrior, the trolls,
same type people.
Same type.
They analyzed the fight and they said Carlos should have done this.
Or Diego should,
Holly should have done this. It's okay, you're saying that from your mom's basement.
You're not
you've never put on a pair of gloves gloves. You don't know nothing about what you're talking about.
Yeah, we get the
thing
same.
with police. Oh yeah,
we get the same thing from one of the Facebook pages that I run for the sheriff's office, and you know, people go on there and they don't know the totality of everything, and kind of want to start bashing everything. And you know, to be fair, there's just like any organization, there are bad apples.
And
in
I was
going to
bring that up. You know,
not everybody's perfect.
We're not in denial about that. There are bad officers out there, and you're crazy not to speak out against it, because they don't belong in the force.
But in all fairness, like bad or not bad, you know, like the situations like this will bring the worst out of you. Like if it was me, like, you know, like I would literally bash his face in, man, like that person, man, fucking with the shielding with kids. Like I wouldn't even think twice. Like maybe something like I would go nuts. Like,
but then when you do that, there'll be a video of that. They'll show that part.
Yeah, and they don't, you know, like, oh, okay. But
well, see, that's the part that'll end up on Good Morning America, and
you're destroyed,
and it'll be a 20-second video of what you did, minus the totality of everything else,
of the hostages, and you're protecting the kids, and you're thinking of the kids.
Utmost respect, really, guys, man, because like.
So I
couldn't imagine.
I think a lot of it goes back to and we've come a long way in law enforcement over the years, but a lot of it comes down to ongoing realistic training.
Yeah, you probably go through a lot of it. I mean, I'm military myself. I remember every day training.
And that speaks to what you guys do here. I mean, you're constantly training. You're constantly, you know, improving your skills, muscle memory, and that's what happens with professional law enforcement officers. And Mark knows this, having been a professional law enforcement officer for years, and that's what it comes down to, is that, you know, ongoing realistic training that puts the officers in stress conditions, you know, so that when they do experience those high stress situations, they go back to their training and they react accordingly.
Right.
And that takes that emotional aspect out of it as much as it can. You know. So so that's
there are guys, there are officers that you see that they leave they forget about their training, or they just get caught up in a moment, and they go a little too far sometimes, and those are the videos. But even then, you know, the media judges people on 20-second clips. It's just like Sheriff Mace just mentioned. You know, it's officers are judged and fighters are judged. Everybody is judged on they don't see the whole picture, and if people would in today's world with social media, people want to watch that 30-second clip.
Even the word you might say, like, that's why you got to be so careful with it. You might say one word and it will hunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
I know the feeling.
I learned that for New Year's Eve.
I learned that around New Year's Eve too.
That's why I brought it up, because it's like it's not fair that you know, and then all those media outlets, they pick it up, the right stories or whatever, this and that, and then you can't erase that slate, even though it's not fair, because now in this day and age, whenever you try to do something, to go somewhere, people just Google your name, and stuff starts coming up, and then you know it's not criminal, you didn't do anything bad, you know, you in the heat of the moment, we go, you know, you read in too much stuff, you know, that's why you get all these trolls and keyboard start, you know, typing up, you know, because the emotion takes over, right? So you're doing this, whatever, but and then the concept for the rest of your life. That's why
he's referring to my post-herd round Brazil.
Yeah, well,
a little bit,
but it's not fair. It's totally not fair.
Is.
You know what I'm saying? It does not define that person for that 1 second. You know, I mean, if it's criminal, yes, okay, it's a problem. You know, but it's a word. You know, and you said something in the heat of the moment.
It hurt people's feelings.
So now what? Because you hurt someone's feelings, you don't deserve to have a decent life for the rest of your life because freaking social media and internet says so.
Yeah, during New Year's, I made a funny comment I thought was funny about drinking and driving, you know, and be safe for New Year's Eve. Get a designated driver, you know, and you know, 90% of the people in my community were like, "Hey, that was pretty funny, good deal." But I got bashed on social media for it. Even made the news.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's what I'm saying.
I laughed. I thought it was funny.
Yeah. And
Nick's always our cheerleader behind the scenes.
A joke went into this, like, well, he's anti-woman and all this. I'm like, no, that's not it.
Where do you think that?
It was just, hey, don't drink and drive, you know.
Yeah. And as the undersheriff, as soon as I saw that post, I laughed internally from the standpoint of I knew what the sheriff was trying to say.
But then he's thinking liability.
But then I immediately went into liability mode, and
damage control.
And I went, oh my gosh! And then as soon as I said that, he's texting me. He's like, "Can you believe this?" And I was like, "Yeah."
All it takes that one little trigger, you know, like trigger someone's feeling just by a tiny bit. And if you're in a position of authority or it's some kind of like, because we're attached to this gym and it's such a big name gym, and he was attached to it, that it just blew the hell up. It's like wildfire.
Yeah, that's what happened for me. Is like, you know, not the the freedom of speech doesn't necessarily apply in a position of authority, even though it's there. You still gotta when you're in a position of authority and you're representing a big organization, people take that to a whole other level.
Well, and it doesn't matter if you made that.
There should be some kind of law against this, though. Like no, it should be like it should be able to like go out and clear his stuff, because this is not fair that someone's reputation is damaged just based on
no, I can't get a job.
You know, like for example, a man can get a job or whatever because it's especially in the government, because like you offend the LGBT community or something. Whoa, it was nothing like this.
So when you made your post, were you speaking as a private citizen, Tony Mace, or did you do it on your sheriff's?
Nothing.
Your official sheriff's page.
Nothing to do with my official sheriff. Just more my personal.
Since you're associated with, since everyone knows you as the sheriff, it turns into a big deal. It's the same thing with mine. I mean, I wasn't speaking on the Jackson Wink page. I wasn't speaking as a Jackson Wink
like Coach Winkle was like, he hates feelings. He's like, the people with their feelings, man. Jesus Christ, man. There was no social media before, you know. We were fine. You know, now with all this freaking nonsense, man.
Well, we also have a term that we use, and it's probably derogatory, and but you know, we got a world full of snowflakes nowadays.
Snowflakes. I love that word. Yeah.
So yeah, that didn't come from Sheriff Mace. That came from Undersheriff Mike Munk.
And the funny part about it, they're everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Well, they're in every walk of life. Yeah.
Well, you know, the good thing about it was I had an outpour from my community, and they're like people that know me and know what I'm about. Yeah. They were like, that is just a joke, you know, as an individual, not as a professional. But again, a lot of those times they merge into each other. Yeah. And you know, at the end of the day, it worked out. I learned a good lesson, and you know, the people in my community really came out to support that. And you know, part of what I learned there, and what's different about that situation is when you look at police chiefs versus sheriffs, and that really has to do with a lot of the service, you know, that people get from their law enforcement. Is you'll see your sheriff's deputies, sheriff's office, they're more in touch with people, they're more able to help out and do different things, whereas police departments, they're there to do a job. You know, the chief he's appointed by the mayor. The sheriff is elected by the people, answers to the people
because they liked you. That's why the majority
represents
voted
the
for
people.
You.
Yeah, exactly. My first election, my whole career's been spent, and law enforcement career has been with the sheriff's office, and I'm from that community, and I've worked every capacity you can within that office. So I've got a lot of relationships, professional, through there, and you know, the first election was with two Democratic candidates against me was almost 80% of the vote.
Wow.
Yeah. So sheriffs also is like it goes Democrats, Republicans.
Yeah, you can.
Sheriff is also belong to the party.
Yeah,
really, I didn't know that.
It's crazy because, you know, as a sheriff, I'm a certified law enforcement officer.
Why are you dividing me?
Yeah, I have to follow whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or conservative,
independent, liberal,
I equally have to protect you. Like you can't be like, oh, yeah, I won't protect Democrats, I'll protect Republicans.
Yeah. The law is the law. The law is the law, and I have a book that I have to enforce.
I'm a Republican sheriff.
So
if you didn't vote for me, you're screwed.
Yeah, it's crazy that your sheriff's races are nonpartisan because the law is the law. That's what you have to do. Yeah. And it's in New Mexico. You don't have to be a law enforcement officer to be a sheriff. You can just be the most popular guy in town
and become a sheriff.
True story. Yeah, you don't have to be a certified
officer. Let's go to Cibola County. Let's go somewhere. Let's become popular. Let's go.
Yeah, we went to legislature a couple times and tried to change that. And then last year was a hot year for us at the session because we were looking at changing the requirements to be a sheriff in New Mexico. When we started, when you get attorneys and they start looking into things and start adding things and changing things, and we started looking at it and we're like, well, you know what, you're limiting the will of the people to elect who they want as their sheriff, so this might not be a good idea.
Yeah. The flip side of it is that in more of the populated areas, the more concentrated areas of the state, there are a lot of requirements that come in. They're not official requirements, but they're unofficial requiremements, and that's when you start looking at, you know, who's qualified, who's the best candidate, that kind of thing. But we have areas of the state that are very, very rural, And that's what they're looking at from the legislative side is, well, do we want to limit, because the most qualified individual in a very, very small county may not be the person that's going to be the right person for the job. But as you get into the more populated areas, Bernalillo County, Cibola County, Valencia County, Sandoval, the ones that, around the metro area, the qualifications do come in. So
and there's a lot of laws and rules associated with it made by the state government years ago, where even their salary was controlled by the government. A sheriff is only allowed to make so much by state law. So they're capped out at a certain salary, but it keeps people from being a crooked sheriff. I'm going to pay myself $200,000 a year.
You see that on the East Coast sheriffs, because they're in charge of their detention centers, and they're allowed a certain amount of money to run their detention center for mainly where you see it is the food contracts. So whatever the inmates don't eat at the end of the year,
savings.
Those sheriffs get that money at the end of the year. Wow. Yeah. So and it's legal.
That's crazy.
It's not against the law in some of those places.
Holy crap.
And, I belong to the Western. I'm the secretary for the Western State Sheriff Association, which is your 13 Western states. So I do a lot of interacting with all those sheriffs, and Colorado, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, California, Las Vegas, Oregon, Montana. A lot of those places are, you think because we're in New Mexico that we set there's different things that affect us. They're pretty much the issues and the problems, are pretty much the same. Yeah. When you look at, the ruralness, budgets, forestry, cross commissioning, things like that, they're all pretty much the same. And I'm the vice chairman for the New Mexico Sheriff's Association, so I take a lot of that what I do in Western states from all the other sheriffs, we bring back to New Mexico and to our local organization, and we bring some of those what we learn and different techniques and different things and bring those back on a local level. And you'll see on the East Coast, your sheriffs are more suit and tie, office administrative type
never
people.
In uniform.
Your western side of your sheriffs is your guys that are out in the front lines. These guys are engaged with their deputies. They're more
there is that East Coast West Coast mentality.
Sheriffs.
Exactly.
They're your traditional sheriffs.
Even the motorcycles are different in the East Coast and the West side.
But you're not traditional. Coast. You have the best looking gun I've seen, actually.
Well, Wyatt Earp had a cool one. Why can't I?
That's the Marine Corps globe, though, man.
Yeah, Marine Corps.
Can we hold it up to the camera?
It doesn't get cooler than that.
This is the coolest freaking gun.
Yeah, you get pointed at that one right there, I think, actually.
Semper Fi.
No, is that looks like something the cartel would carry, but
that's
what we tease him about.
That's sheriff's gun.
There's just not enough gold on it, so.
Well, I have another fancy one, a Les Bear, that's all dressed up, custom made grips, and everybody calls that one my barbecue gun. But
no, I like it. I don't think it's over the top. It's pretty cool. I mean, if it said anything other than Marine Corps, I think it would probably be a little tacky,
Yeah,
it had
add some kind of value to this, like I don't know, like sheriff,
kind of personal,
former Marine. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, it's engraved U.S. Marine Corps on the slide, and it's got the EGA on the side.
Did BMC do that by chance?
No, actually, I bought this pistol from my buddy Walter over at BMC.
Okay.
Great guy. I'll tell you, I do a lot of work over there. But then the
little endorsement for BMC, the good guys over there.
The actual hand grips were made by Red Bluff Buckles out of McKinley County, custom made. So
cool. Nice, I love it.
Yeah, I had to talk about the gun a little bit. That was cool.
That was just so awesome for video. He just puts it back in the holster, like he's gonna go do some sheriff stuff.
It's when you get over to Sierra County, Sheriff Hamilton over there, he still carries a 6-shooter revolver gun.
Wow, see, that's old school there.
Yeah, when we got
some faith.
I always say Dirty Harry. Yeah,
you
gotta be quick with the reloads for Qual Day.
An old Colt 45 revolver, and he comes out to the range with us with our new ones and keeps right up.
Have you guys been in a lot of shootouts?
Not in Cibola County. Not we haven't really had use of force, where we've had to
vehicular stuff.
Yeah,
not the shootouts.
Yeah, we haven't had any what we call use of force situations, shootouts or anything like that, where our officers have had to basically engage somebody with a weapon.
And if there was, the media wouldn't cover it anyway because they're not Albuquerque, so
the reason I ask all the time is that because, like, you know, I come from East Coast, I lived there for a long time, never owned a gun, you know, and when I got here, to me, and we talked about it all the time, that it's pretty nerve-wracking that everyone here carries, you know, and criminals and non-criminals and everyone, you know, and you see a lot of that stuff going on, you know, that gun culture here.
Yeah, after he was here just a few months, I took him to buy his first gun.
I'm getting my my concealed carry now, and for my wife.
That's good.
And stuff,
That's good.
You know, stuff like that, make sure everyone's safe. But at the end of the day, I always think about police, like when you approach a car, you know, or like when you're out there and you know everyone has guns. Like, what goes through your mind when you approach an individual, because you don't know how they're going to react, and you hear all these things that just to me nerve-wracking, like, because you know.
Well, whether they're armed or they're unarmed, we treat everybody
as they're armed. We
treated everybody as a you know, a possible threat.
Like, what goes? What the first thought goes through when you like approach a person? Like, if.
Well, I mean, are you talking about just interaction with people, or just car stops, or
me? I'm always would be more worried about the car stop.
So the initial body language,
you can't see inside. You don't know what's going on, who's there, especially with tents illegal and all that.
You can learn a lot about a car stop just in the first few seconds as you walk up to that window. If they're nervous and fidgety, you're already on a higher alert.
Perspective, if I'm a good citizen, which I am, like if I get stopped, what do? Do I roll my windows down if I have a tint on? Or?
That's key. Yeah, that's
the key.
So
thing.
You can see me.
Yeah,
I should do that.
Hands on the steering wheel. Hands on the steering wheel. In a very visible place. Roll the windows down.
Yeah, this says cooperation right from the start.
And you know, don't make any sudden, you know, overt, you know, movements. And just be polite, and that takes you a long way. You know, politeness. Most officers, on that initial approach, most officers are, you know,
on edge.
They're cognizant of everything. They're very, you know, their heightened awareness is up.
Alert.
You know, they're looking.
Their blood pressure's up a little bit too.
You know, they're looking at everything, and like you bring up a great point, is that in New Mexico and in the western states, most everybody has a heavy tent on their windows.
Yeah.
And
gun in the car.
You know, and so when you're making that approach with that heavy tent, it's you know, we can't see inside the vehicle. So
makes you nervous right away.
Exactly. So
well, the key thing, the key thing to remember is a lot of people. I mean, is if I can see your hands, you're not necessarily a threat to me.
Yeah.
If I can see your hands, you're not a threat to me. Yeah, because
hands up.
Well, and not necessarily
that's extreme.
Not necessarily hands up, but maybe on your steering wheel or your dash or something like that. Because I can see that you're not armed.
That'll be me, man. Sorry, I didn't do that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we like to. That's what officers like to see is.
He obviously hasn't been pulled over yet.
Not in New Mexico, no.
And you know, for us, where we're at, kind of rural, is small community. We know everybody. We know what everybody drives. You know, not necessarily makes it any safer. But we kind of know who we're dealing with.
You recognize the car.
Yeah, we recognize the car. We'll recognize that individual. We'll kind of know what we're going to get into, good, bad, or indifferent. And you know, we teach our deputies. You know, you treat everybody the same. You know, treat people how you would want to be treated.
Or your mom, or
exactly. Just because you're a police officer doesn't make you any different than the next guy. You know, keep your awareness level up, but still get the job done.
What's the big crimes going on in that part of the
We've been right now? Our community's been overrun by heroin, methamphetamine,
which is everywhere, bro.
Drugs.
That's international.
Economically, the community is we're in an economic decline. So you'll see a lot of domestic violence, a lot of drinking, a lot of property crimes, things like that.
There's not much to do in those cities.
Yeah,
it's more like in Albuquerque too, man.
Well,
so much it's.
And we're working several cases.
You guys just had a major case going on. I don't know if you guys can talk about
well, we can a little bit. I'm sure you're talking about the cult case.
Yeah, the weird cult thing going on.
The cult case.
It actually made some Albuquerque news there for a while.
Well, it actually made international news. Yeah, national, international news.
Oh wow, let me hear about it.
It's a particular group, that goes back 30 years. It's Aggressive Christian Ministries Training Corps. the Greens, General James and Deborah Green. And at this point, what I'm conveying to you is all public record. They go back 30 years.
General Green.
General James.
They call him General? Yes, or is he an actual general?
Yeah. They have a rank structure just like we do.
All right. Okay.
Wow. They have rank all the way from general down to private. They have.
So they're like a militia group.
They pattern themselves after what they call the Salvation Army, and that they have a rank structure, but they are they're a group that started in California. They moved to Oregon, Colorado. Now they're in New Mexico. If you Google Aggressive Christian Ministries Training Corps, you're going to see hundreds, if not thousands, of articles. They've been featured on everything from Dateline, MSNBC,
Wow.
Dr. Phil. There's been countless programs on them. They relocated to Fence Lake, New Mexico, which is part of our county.
Aggressive Christian Ministry, right?
Right.
So that's
and
I'm trying to think of the acronym for that. Does it mean
ATC,
something? Okay. All right.
ACTMC, yeah.
Okay.
Basically the situation is that they started up down there. They were involved in a lot of things. We got involved when it was brought to our attention some of the activity that they were doing, some of the criminal activity that they were involved in. And as it came to pass, we made several arrests. And the charges that they're facing individually and as a group range from homicide, murder to kidnapping to international trafficking, trafficking in human trafficking, sex crimes.
Organized crime, pretty much.
Is
General was arrested?
General Deborah Green was arrested on charges, and so was.
How many people you said were in the cold?
James Green.
How many people in the cold?
It varies in size from time to time.
Yeah, it's probably kind of hard to gauge the numbers.
Yeah, they recruit people via internet or through organizations.
So it's everywhere, pretty much. Even though he's arrested, did it dissemble or you don't know, right? It's hard to say.
I'm sorry.
No, since the main guy usually gets arrested, right? Then what happens to the actual organization? Is it still active or is it?
Well, and that's a great point. We have arrested several key people in high-ranking people, and several of them are in custody right now awaiting trial. And they're on some of them are on no bond holds, some of them are on $500,000 cash only holds, and then some of them are still out in the community on bond. They've bonded out. They're awaiting trial. And then
there's some at large.
Some that have active warrants for their arrest.
Well, it's probably like the mafia. I mean, just because the mob boss has been arrested doesn't mean that the thing goes away.
Yeah,
there's underbosses.
Somebody else.
Yeah, there's always someone that's going to step up while the boss is away.
Right. Depends how big they are, too. Because sometimes if they rely on that guy too much, it might fall apart.
Well, and this particular organization is well funded. They have holdings out in New Zealand.
Wow.
They pay cash for everything. They paid $600,000 cash for the property in Fence Lake.
Yeah,
so they have a very well organized.
That's some expensive dues,
situation.
Well, when you come out, when you look at their organization, the way it's structured, they recruit you to be a minister or an evangelist or
a missionary
to come out, join the organization. You do that. When you get there, you pretty much sign over everything you own, whether it be retirements, bonds.
So you commit crimes in the name of God,
pretty much.
Not to get racial about it, but is it primarily white, black?
You get people from all over. We have people from
other. They don't discriminate.
People from other countries were out
so
there.
it's not like it's an Aryan type thing.
No.
Almost
so it's worse.
Almost felt that way.
They have international connections. going into Uganda, Africa, down into Mexico.
You don't realize this crap's going on in your backyard,
because you like try not to mind your own business. But that's why I don't read the news or don't watch the news
unless it's MMA or Misha. Don't read it.
Yeah. This is so depressing. It's depressing. It'll ruin your day. It's like,
and what we looked at is with this organization is everybody's entitled for their own beliefs, what they want to believe, what they want to practice, and what they want to do. And
100%.
Go out there and do that. That's great.
But don't harm others.
Well, what we got concerned is, we're out there digging up dead babies. We're taking reports of human trafficking coming across the borders.
Hostages.
Slave manual labor, different things like that.
Child abuse.
Child abuse.
Probably a lot of extortion. I bet a lot of extortion.
Yeah, to some point. And that's where it became where we as a law enforcement agency had to do something about it. Be not necessarily what they believe in or what they practice or whatever. That's not my position to judge. But when you start breaking laws,
of course,
that's where we gotta interact. And we kind of had in the general same area. We just had another big case out in rural New Mexico.
They're not seeing it as breaking laws because they're on their own little land and they don't get it.
Correct.
Yeah. This is our land. We can do whatever we want. We're a private nation.
Actually, because in New Mexico there's a lot of Native Americans, right? Indians, right? Do you guys have a lot in your county, or?
We're surrounded by the Navajo Nation, Navajo, Laguna Pueblo, Acoma Pueblo, and the Rama reservation as well.
I always wondered about, because I know they live by certain rules, right? That they have their own, police kind of like. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? Like what the actual true laws and
they operate under like a federal law, and they're a sovereign nation, so
FBI.
Yeah, everything pretty much goes through the FBI with them. We don't have any jurisdiction over them on tribal lands. However, if they need assistance for stuff, we're always available. We come in and help them.
They have their own police?
They have their own police departments. They have their own courts. They have their own government internally, their governor, their board members and everything within that pueblo or within that organization. And a lot of it is just pretty much working together. But for us to actually go on their sovereign nation, so to go onto the tribal property and be able to enact laws, we can't do that.
What happens? Have it ever happened that some police went and ended up in that jurisdiction?
One of the things that comes up is a lot of times is that they're a sovereign nation in and to themselves. Okay, so if it's Native American on Native American land, then they have exclusive jurisdiction. But if it's non-native on native land, then the sheriff's office has jurisdiction. So we because even if it's a federal set aside land, a reservation or a pueblo or the Navajo Nation itself, or if it's non-native in nature, we still have jurisdiction.
Okay. So and that's for your private your smaller pueblos type deals. When we get into the Navajo Nation, which is more on San Juan County side of our state, different areas, but the state police entered into MOU with the in some type of contract where, if needed, it's the I forget the code for it, but they have the federal certification basically to be able to go in and assist them with things and it all goes down to legality, when
US 18C
is there a lot of crime on Pueblos? Like, I'm sure you see reports or something.
They stay pretty busy.
They stay pretty busy, really? But they kind of hold their stuff.
I was going to say a lot of that stuff
poverty,
is unreported.
Right? A lot of poverty, right?
Right.
Yeah, it stays within pretty much.
I can speak to this because
he told me some stories about like natives.
Yeah, natives are they handle their own crimes differently.
Tell me what you told me. Like,
they'll handle it very strangely. Like they'll publicly shame them by tying them to posts and, and torturing them and
we've never seen other.
Well, some of the
no,
like
I can speak to what Mark's talking about.
I heard they would they could like put you in the ground up to the neck and like under the sun
with the ants with the honey. They pour that stuff doesn't get reported.
Maybe this is something we need to get back to, really, like even though like in normal community.
Well, no, I mean I'll tell you what's funny is that
too much.
you know, you're driving through a pueblo that's that you know, it's a state road, it's a state highway that goes through a pueblo, and you'll be driving along, and you know, most of us work graveyard at some point in our career. And you're out there in the middle of the night, and you're driving along, and all of a sudden you look over and there's some guy chained to a tree, and you're like, but it's on the res, it's on the pueblo, and you're like, okay, that's their business. That has nothing to do with me. And and sometimes that's their form of, you know, punishment if they choose to do that.
Let me ask you this: if I'm a normal person, I'm driving and I get lost and end up in Pueblo, you know, am I in danger or no?
No, that's not a crime.
No, right?
Especially a Russian, they're gonna say, "Get out of here."
You know, pretty much. You know, where you'll see
a Russian.
I'm just trying. It's funny, some funny stuff. I want to understand the law.
Where you find
it'll be a conspiracy, is what it'll be.
What is a Russian doing in Pueblo? Yeah, never see the Russian in New Mexico.
You'll see where they get kind of, for the most part, they're welcome. Come on, take the tour, look, check it out. How can we help you? So when they're having their religious stuff, that's when, in their ceremonies and things, is kind of when they try to keep people. Keep it private. Yeah, it's
every once in a while you get invited to those, though. If you have a friend that's from the Pueblo,
yes,
you get invited into their homes, and it's like a huge party where you just go from house to house, and like a buffet at every house, and you get to see their families.
Kind of cool to see.
Yeah,
when I went to Santa Fe, when they do those like performances, it's pretty fascinating to watch.
For like Acoma, Sky City over there, they have their when they their feast days, and everybody's come in, and you know, you meet some really great people. Come to my house, you know, and come and have dinner with us.
Yeah, it's like a big honor to be invited to their house.
Yeah, it's awesome. It really is.
We should make some connection, man.
Yeah, we got Nicky Lowe. We got some natives on
we got a lot of fighters. A lot of
it's really neat, and their culture is really. I mean, it just the way it's different, and it's really, really cool.
Very unique.
Unique.
Really, it's like that's where it all happened, right? It started from Native Americans, right? Like,
yep.
History-wise. What do you guys think about the gym? We gave you a little tour. What
I'm amazed. I didn't even know this was here in Albuquerque. I mean, this is an awesome facility. You got some great people running around. The memorabilia on the walls. It's just, I mean, I'm amazed. I'm at awe.
Well, Mark had told me about it, and you know, over the last couple of years, he was explaining on some of the things you guys were doing, and the progress that was being made, and everything, and so I kind of had a little bit of an idea, but our schedules are so crazy nowadays that I hadn't had a chance to come over and check it out, and it's amazing. It's just wonderful. And
we have.
And you guys are the mecca of all of MMA. I mean, everything starts in Albuquerque. Everything seems to feed out of Albuquerque.
People describe it as mecca. You're absolutely right.
Who would have known, right? Like,
you know, and the fighters are so respectful, and
they really
appreciate your service. Hey, you know, it really welcoming. It's
a very humble sport. Yes. A lot of people think it's very barbaric and this and that, but it's very humbling, because I always say, like, you never know who's in front of you or who you're fighting, because you, like I always say, you can have like this little guy, you know, and there's this big guy, and this little guy will whoop your ass. Like, you wouldn't know where it came from, you know.
Well, even for like us,
it's so common. That's why it's like, when you hear, it humbles you, because you don't know who can kick your ass. Because on any given day, anyone can.
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because I walked in and I was talking to Mark, and I said, okay, this normally doesn't happen, but I said, I'm in a building where everybody in here, including the guy who's probably just changing out the water cooler, could kick my ass.
and this is coming from a Marine that doesn't really think like that.
Well, and you know, it's funny that what you were talking about is like like being able to defend yourself or fighting and things like when we're out on the streets is. Well, I'll tell you what, I'd rather go up against the biggest guy out there than some of the smaller individuals, because they'll eat your lunch and heart. You don't know what's out there.
Well, and that brings up go ahead.
And I always say, like, how humbling the sport is, because it's like, and I always say, if everyone trained in this world, like everyone trained, there'll be no crime, there'll be a lot of peace, there'll be no wars. Because you don't have energy for this. After you don't have energy, and it seriously humbles, because and most people that start fights, they don't train. No. They're untrained. They just have the rage or whatever it is, because most martial artists, they know what they can do. They just laugh at it. You know, just like, dude, really, man, come on, man. I ain't going to jail because of stupid shit, man. And I used to carry, like, when I was living in New Jersey and stuff, and I was training, I would carry my business card to the gym and say, you want to duke it out, bro? Like, if you like, especially in confrontation shit, yeah, here's my card, bro. Just come in, sign the waiver, man, because I'm not going to jail. I have a family. I'm not going because of stupid shit or some kind of road rage or some stuff like that.
It's different. People want to fight out a rage versus fight out a sport, training, different things.
If you want to prove something, you think you're tough, come on in.
Yeah,
sign the waivers. We're not responsible.
Well, it brings up a point that we had of course, Greg Jackson has been training police officers for many years. He was training his jiu-jitsu when I was a rookie over 20 years ago. And people were looking at this like, what the heck is this? Why this guy's wrong? That's kind of strange. But now, just recently, this year, we actually had Hector Balderas on the show, and he's trying to pass it up at the state level that the states mandate his curriculum to officers in the academy.
Yeah. Correct.
Just because it's
practical.
Yeah, it's practical. It's very practical in the real world.
Right. Well, and one of the things that because I'm also the sheriff and I are also involved at the academy, doing stuff through the academy and stuff as instructors and stuff like that. But at one point, you know, the academy was teaching like 103 defensive tactics moves to cadets. Yeah. And, you know, 103 moves is just overwhelming, you know, and
especially
so
in a stressful situation to try to remember that.
Right.
What do I do at this spot?
Yeah. and in our business, and I'm sure, you know, you see it, you know, through your business as well, is that most everything goes to the ground.
Yeah.
Everything at some point is going to go to the ground.
Thank you. Man.
And
I'm a grappler myself.
And and
that's why I chose to train.
Right. So in our business, everything pretty much goes to the ground. Yeah. Okay. Through command and control and whatnot.
But it's never a boxing match out there.
But
that
doesn't. That's not the real world.
You trip, you fall, you start tangling.
So 103 moves. You know, we would be better served to teach 10 moves. You know, or 5 moves, and just concentrate and be able to execute those, you know, like you're breathing. Second nature.
My philosophy these days is it's all about control and position and control. If you master how to position and control somebody else's body, that's when you win. You don't need to submit them. You don't need to like this and that or whatever. You know, as long as you can control their body, lock them up, control them, but they can't move, restrain them. That's the number one to me, I think.
Well, I think that's important on what we do as well.
Yeah, you know, that's why it's very
you incapacitate that individual. The threat's no longer there. And I mean, just from watching some of these guys trained after the fight, they're laying on the mat. They're wore out. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, they're laying in a puddle of sweat.
You know, you're tired. The fight's out of you at that point.
And like about how control someone's hands, arms. Right. You know, because I always bring up this video because I'm a grappler. You know, and I've been training many years. And I saw a video online not too long ago, which kind of like made me think. There was some altercation in a parking lot, and one guy knew jiu-jitsu or whatever, takes the guy down.
You talking about the officer?
No. Okay. It was just a regular, like, whatever fight, you know, like one of those world star, whatever.
World star.
The guy gets the guy in the armbar, you know, and you see that guy that doesn't train, he's in the armbar, he's suffering, but he had a knife on him. So this guy is like this, you know, his feet here, his stomach here, the guy pulls out the knife and stabs him, you know.
Right.
So that got me thinking like a lot. It's like, well, if I'm in an altercation, you know, the first thing, you know, control the hands.
Correct.
Control the hands. I have to see the hands. You know, like I would not go for an armbar because the other arm is available.
The hands are what's going to kill you.
The hands is eventually it's on the gun or on the knife. Or
you know, that's traditionally what we were taught is armbar. Take them down in an armbar. Well, you still got a free arm, and some of these people are strong. They can pull out a weapon, a firearm, pull out a knife. Punch you.
I have to see the arms.
Well, there's a great video out there. It came out a couple of years ago. It was a Vegas Metro cop. He's trying to arrest some guy that's getting unruly, and the guy happened to be a fighter, but the officer had been training for years in jiu-jitsu. So of course it went to the ground, and this officer was just doing great. One of the guys did a play-by-play of it, and he was just talking about how the officer did just great moves, you know, to get his back, and just, you know, and it was just finally until another officer. It seemed like forever. You're watching this fight just go on, And this guy had obviously the endurance to stay in the fight.
Stay in the fight
and stay on top and stay in control. But I mean, if that officer hadn't been trained, it could have been a whole different situation.
Well, so you bring up a great point, Mark, because you obviously work the streets. We worked them together, but a lot of it comes down to conditioning as well.
Conditioning's huge. And
because if I'm equally matched, or even if I'm come up against somebody who's a superior opponent, if I've got that conditioning, if I've got that at least going for me, then I might be able to stay in long enough to until backup arrives, or or I can get to a taser, or
it's the difference between life and death. Exactly.
So
I got a question. Out in the county, you got dirt, rocks, tumbleweeds, the stickers. Was it different doing the grappling in the city than it is in the county?
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah.
City's covered by asphalt, curbs, and rocks out there.
I don't think there's any easier way on any pavement or whatever ground.
We pick cactus out of our ass.
Oh yeah.
Covered in like weird shit.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing from the nice mats compared to
It'd be like,
tumbleweeds.
You pull a mat. It's like, hold on, what's that criminal?
Try
pull my mat out.
Yeah, try wrestling on goat heads.
Put the mat. You gotta carry a mat with you.
Have you stepped on a goat head yet? Have you stepped on a goat head yet? You've ever heard of that yet?
No.
Oh Jesus!
You're missing out. No. It's crazy brutal. Because the Malpai rock out there along the I-40 is we'll get traffic stops and people want to fight with us and that stuff or run across
it's like volcano.
That's what I never understand. How stupid does a person need to be to pick a fight with a cop? I never understand.
It's funny that one of the things that so I'm always telling the sheriff, don't get involved, don't get involved, don't get involved. And of course he's out there and he's driving around and he's doing what.
So you patrol too, yeah?
Yes.
He's very hands on and
that's the best way.
in the community. So so we had this pursuit, we had this large pursuit, and ended up getting into a guy bailed out, stolen vehicle, ... and he bails out and he's running through the Malpai, and all of a sudden he just disappears. And so they're calling in units and they're trying to get an air unit up, and there's no air units, and there's no canine available, and so the guy just totally disappears in the Malpai. So it's like, well, where did he go? So we're out there looking, and so they're bringing in
calling the dog.
They're calling in canines and everything, and the sheriff's just walking around, and everybody's like, where did this guy go? Well, come to find out, he had climbed into some kind of a
crevice
cave hole in the Malpai, and
so Malpai, what is that volcanic rock?
Volcanic rock. It's real sharp and hard.
Oh yeah,
we get guys that run out of that stuff and wipe out, and they come out and look like somebody beat the tar out
right
of
there,
them.
that stretch in Grants. It's all that volcanic,
and that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah,
and so the sheriff's dragging him out, telling him, "Hey, just come out, man, just come out." And of course, he's so stuck in there, he can't get out.
That's hilarious.
So the sheriff's over there dragging him out, and trying to be nice about it.
Screaming,
but it was.
I heard.
But
that was last month.
Yeah,
that was the joke around the county. Is we got canines and stuff, but the last 4 criminals, I found them before the dogs did, and I'm going around telling these guys, 4 for 4. Be careful, an old man in a young man's game.
Well, nobody has conditioning like the dogs. Those guys, those dogs are the greatest, man.
Yeah,
nobody's gonna out cardio a dog.
No, and we have 3 canines at our disposal, and the one that we use the most is for our criminal interdiction on I-40. They run up and down the interstate, and pretty much dealing with loads from the cartel.
Can you tell me the most horrific story, like the most horror story that
we're gonna end this on a horrific moment?
I want to hear, man. I like to.
Well, for me, I guess. We're always dealing with criminals, but the things that impact us the most is when you have to deal with kids. In 2000?
Yeah.
It was 2000. In 2000, drunk driver hit a family on the interstate, killed the whole family. 11-year-old girl was trapped underneath a burning vehicle. Or 9-year-old girl trapped underneath a burning vehicle. Semi truck hauling C4 was involved in the wreck right next to
Jesus.
it. Horrible scene. It was right here on I-40, just past 126 mile marker, and I was out late at night cruising, just checking the rural part of the county, and I literally drove up on this crash, and you know, we was able to get that. The girl was pinned. Everybody in the vehicle died except for this 9-year-old girl, and she was pinned under the vehicle that was on fire, soaked in gasoline. I was in the right place at the right time. We were able to get the jack out of the vehicle, get the vehicle up off of the young girl, pull her out. Just so happens there's an ambulance coming through the crash site, taking somebody to Albuquerque having a heart attack.
Because you hadn't had time to call for that.
No, it happened just like that. I mean,
react, man. That's
it
why
was.
I have so much respect for what you guys do.
It was just being in the right place at the right time for me. The ambulance, somebody was looking out for that little girl. And what's crazy is she graduated high school last year.
I was about to say, so was it a local?
No, they were from. She actually lives up in.
But you've kept in contact.
On top of Santa Fe. Yes.
How cool is that? That's
Helena.
awesome.
She beautiful young lady, successful.
That's
just
awesome
graduated
story.
high school, and
you saved her life.
Yeah, I was just doing my job, you know, and it was one of the things that really sticks with me is we do a lot of good, but I mean just that particular incident, like you know, when you're dealing with when you're able to impact kids, and there's been cases where we've arrested people that you know, personally that I've arrested people and dealt with some type of substance abuse or narcotics and gave them my card and said, hey, you want to get out of this, help, let me know. Yeah. And those people will come forward, and they turn out to be successful people. Things like that are what really impact.
People don't see that.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great things.
And those people, you stay a lot with, like, in touch with some people, like the victims that you help.
The victims,
they remember you.
Yeah, they remember us. They remember officers. We get letters in the mail all the time, and stuff that I'm not directly involved with. But I'll get letters for, hey, your officer came on the side of the interstate and brought me a gas can or helped me change a tire.
That's what people need to hear, man.
You know, those are the things,
instead of the crap
you know, stuff that I don't really even know about or see firsthand. I'll get a thank you card in the mail, and they'll say, hey, your officer stopped and helped me change a tire. He brought me gas. You know, we get, Cibola County is kind of rural, right? Well, we said that 100 times, but like, if somebody gets in a crash in that part of the state, in that part of the area, there's no rental cars or anything. My deputies will take those families and those people and bring them up here to get them in a rental car, get them to the airport, get them to the bus station to help them out. I mean, we've had officers feed people. I mean, just things like that are what really impact me and make me love this job so much. And what I do is you see that firsthand.
And those are the stories that never make it to the media.
So that's why I brought it up, because that's why I wanted to hear that.
And recently, most recently, the 19 kids that we were able to save and get out of the you know, the situation down in Fence Lake, the kids that we were able to you know, to help kids. And
so they're hostages, right? Like,
well, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that we were able to
okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know,
I thought you were talking about.
We still have, you know, we have to be careful because we still have an ongoing criminal investigation, but and a court proceeding. But I can tell you that, and this is all public record as well, but I can tell you that that we received a call in the middle of the night of 2 individuals that were at the compound that called and said, we're trapped, we're here against our will, we want to be rescued.
Wow.
And we brought them out in the middle of the night along with their children, and it started this investigation. And since then we've been able to take approximately 19 kids into protective custody and 19 kids into, you know, into a safe environment.
That's how you met the general.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and those are things that really, those are the cool things. And you know, you'll get, for us, like, you get a lost hiker, being able to find them and get them to safety is awesome. Lost hunters, just where you're able to help somebody and see that impact.
Trapped in the Malpais.
Yeah, it's really cool, you know, and we're put in positions every day to help somebody, and that's where I promote with my guys. You're in a position to help somebody every day.
That's why I can't watch those videos and like read stuff. I keep coming back to it because when people talk bad things about this, like, you be the first one. God forbid something happens, you be the first one calling police, hoping they're here to help you, man. It's like,
and that's kind of,
something happens to anyone.
You know, now we're in a budget battle with our commissioners and stuff over things like that right now too. Is you know the number when outside of a fire, if there's something going on, the first person you're going to call is a police officer. You know, and
I'm in trouble, help.
And rural in New Mexico, if you live outside of the municipality or the city, the first person that's going to show up to your door is either going to be a sheriff's deputy or a state police officer. You know, and that's where we keep trying to tell, invest in those rural law enforcement agencies, because those are the guys that you're going to see. Those are the guys that are putting in the work.
Yeah, I think police should be well funded, man.
Yeah.
Everywhere, man.
Yeah, that's a
because
whole other
it's
subject.
So
yeah.
we're talking about it's
Nobody wants to be an
Albuquerque,
officer right now.
Like I moved to Albuquerque, man, New Jersey is not, you know, it's not safe anywhere in the world. Obviously, bad areas, good areas, stuff like that. It's just so oversaturated here with so much crime that it just makes you like you'll scroll on those news sites or Facebook pages that about like you start seeing those mugshots and hearing stories of the thing that these people did, and it's like, it's really happening around me. Like you don't feel, you don't see it. Like if you don't look for it, you know, like if you stay by a good side of town, you know. But then like Jesus Christ, but these people is like right outside of my, like it's like right on my doorstep that anyone can on any given day can. Well, I remember I think I told you I was like driving on a nice area, you know. It was at night and my flashlights like this, you know, like so, and I see some shadow or somebody like running in front of me and jumps over the fence and it's like in a nice area, like nice house. And it had to be a criminal. It had to be someone looking for things. Like it got me like Jesus Christ.
New Mexico has a horrible recidivism rate.
There's probably a helicopter above you looking for that.
Yeah,
guy.
looking for that guy. You know, New Mexico, we have a huge recidivism rate, and you know the repeat offenders, and just you know,
why? Though?
Yeah, we
like,
could talk for hours.
We could talk for hours.
I could talk to you for a long time too. You guys, you fascinate me.
And a lot of it comes down to most recently catch and release, and that's a whole different
the bail bond reform act.
Not the fishing kind.
Yeah, not the fishing kind. Yeah.
Hey, but on the
your job fascinates.
We gotta do a little plug for Fire Team Fit, our sponsors.
Military operated company.
Yeah, this guy Ethan, he bought himself a company a few years back. He actually creates these blue weight belt here.
And this choke. His sponsor our gym.
He started
very nice.
a local company, and it's gotten huge. He's selling thousands of these belts worldwide on his Amazon platform.
Marine Recon.
Hoorah! Yeah, he is. He's a badass.
Very light, very durable. You know.
So it's a military-owned, veteran-owned thing, and they also have this weightlifting chalk, which it's not chalk, but it is
liquid chalk.
Yeah, it's a liquid version of chalk.
This, you know, instead of like
it's not that old school tubs of chalk powdered all over. This is kind of a cooler, advanced version, which they came out with.
This is a nice belt.
Yeah, they're super light. It's not light. I
remember like those old school.
I like to bring up the old Arnold Schwarzenegger belts
with those two little
with
things.
leather.
You can't move.
Yeah. That'd be nice for you driving around in these units sometimes. Support your back.
And exactly, and it'd probably be good for you actually sitting in the unit. That's actually a good application because there's guys. A lot of the fighters have been trying it out.
That is pretty cool.
Super lightweight Kevlar material stuff. It's just really badass, futuristic stuff.
Cool.
That
is neat.
That's nice.
Cool guy.
Thank you. You can find it on Amazon, right?
Yeah, Amazon.
Fire
Fireteamfit.com.
Team Fit.
You can go.
Guess that comes from that fire. I guess kind of military.
Well, the fire teams. Yeah, that's the basic. That's the basic team that all Marine Corps.
So
fire
it has a Marine.
Yes, if he's
your fire team's your fighting team.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. If he's a Marine Corps veteran, especially out of recon or MARSOC, the fire teams are they're the 4-man teams that are composed to do the fighting.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's a spin off of.
I think that's what he did.
Job,
you look at the guy and you can tell he's just a badass dude. Man.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with firefighting. That has to do with firefights.
Well, see, and that's actually the first time I've heard that described fire team.
But I knew it had to be something related.
So fire team, I'm thinking firemen or something.
No, that's a Marine Corps thing.
Ah, that makes sense. That's awesome.
So big shout out to all of our veterans out there.
Yeah. Hoorah! There you go.
Yeah, gentlemen.
Well, thanks guys for coming on the show. Appreciate it. You've definitely educated us a lot on what's going on outside of Albuquerque.
It was one of the most interesting shows I think I did because I really admire.
That means a lot actually coming from him.
Wow, that's
we
great.
appreciate you having us because this is unique to me as well.
You guys always welcome here. If you have friends or family you want to bring in, give them a tour, watch sparrings, your coworkers. You want to bring more police officers.
I'd last like 30 seconds in there.
No, you don't. No, listen, just watch. Or, you know, a lot of policemen train, you know, on a casual basis too. If you want to do something, you know, more than welcome.
I'm an old administrator now. I might break a hip or something.
Yeah.
Everyone gets older, this and that.
He's behind the desk. I'm still out on the front.
That's why I'm not wearing that uniform anymore.
You know, like always when we talk about military and this and that, people always tell us like, hey, you know, it's so badass what you guys do, so dangerous. Is that it's not even close to what you do. I always say this is entertainers. Yeah, it's dangerous, get hit in the face, this and that, but the ref stops it, you know. you on the line of fire. You actually risk your life. This guy's, yeah, it could happen. It's dangerous. You might lose your life. I'm very minimal cases, but policemen and military, man, they always in danger and they always die. So in that support, if you don't support that, people that try to protect you in a certain way.
Well, thank you so much for having us.
Well, I want to thank you again for both your military service and obviously your law enforcement service now that you're doing, and it's very much appreciated.
Keep spreading the love.
Yeah,
protect the people. Man.
Yeah, you gotta be on the right side of the law. It's very simple. I mean,
it's very easy too, man. Just be a good person, man.
Yeah, there you
That's
go.
all.
But thanks again for coming in and taking the drive east towards us and hanging out with us for a little while. But we'll end it at that. And thanks, guys, for tuning in. Make sure you watch this later on your podcasts formats, Google Play or iTunes. Check it out. And
support your local police.
Support your local police.
Support your local sheriff.
Local sheriff. Right. Sheriff police. It's a general police.
Tony Mace for sheriff, but he's already the sheriff. He's reelected already. So, but all right, thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through these doors walk the greatest fighters in the world.